I, 20M, and my mom, 55F, don't get along the best. I know that seems pretty obvious given that I'm neurodivergent and I'm a college student and my parents are very overprotective. I know it's not malicious and it comes from a place of love, but it's still very annoying. Anyways, the story that happened years ago, probably when I was around 14 or 15, and I had been seeing my therapist Mary, fake name, for around 8 years, and I had a very good relationship with her. We didn't always get along the best, but generally I enjoyed my time with her and found the information she gave me pretty useful. But when I was around 15, my mom started seeing Mary as well, not at the same time that I was. It was all still one-on-one therapy, but me and my mom were both seeing the same therapist. I had told Mary to promise me that she wouldn't share any details of our sessions with my mom because I didn't want my mom to attempt to encourage me to solve my problems by just telling me how easy it is for her, or question me about every single thing going on because she is a relentless questioner, and Mary agreed. It was then in the following weeks and months that I heard my mom asking me about things that had been troubling me that I never told her about. I began to suspect that Mary was sharing information of our sessions with my mom without my consent, and my mom was doing exactly what I feared she'd do if she ever found out about the things I specifically held back from telling her. I confronted both Mary and my mom about this, and they both denied it and made me feel like I was the crazy one for even thinking something like that could have happened. In the months to follow, I came up with excuses to my mom about how I couldn't see Mary because I didn't trust her, and I eventually stopped seeing her altogether because if anything it was damaging my mental health. It wasn't until this past school year that I felt enough distance between me and my parents that I felt comfortable seeking out a therapist on my own, and that has been great, but through it all I've still had a hard time trusting my mom, and whenever I try to combat her about it, she flips it onto me and makes me feel crazy for even trying to ask her something in the first place, and I often find myself thinking it was my fault because that's my mom's way of thinking. Deflection. Comment 1. NTA for choosing to end a therapeutic relationship that was no longer working for you, but I gotta ask, how common is it for members of the same family to see the same therapist? I've been in therapy for years, and the one time it came up, my psychologist told me she could not see my sibling as a patient because it would be a professional conflict of interest. Not sure if that was particular to my situation, so I'm genuinely curious. Comment 2. NTA. Being both you and your mom's therapist was somewhat shady, and if you were uncomfortable and don't trust her, then you definitely had reasons not to see her again. Story 2. Cancelling my vow renewal ceremony and going more private. I 35F and my husband 35M were teens when we met. We were planning a wedding, and at 19 years old I became pregnant. At the time, we lived with my dad and he threatened to kick us out if we didn't get married ASAP. This is after I bought the dress and all that, but it was still a courthouse wedding. We are coming up on our 15 years married this year, and I wanted to have a little event at our new property to celebrate it. I announced that we were planning for Halloween, we are goth/witchy, back in January. My sister, 30F, and her husband had their vow renewal last weekend, 3 years married. It was beautiful and sweet, I'm happy for her. However, she has assumed the role of wedding planner for my vow renewal. So far she has suggested I change the date to something more suitable for our dad. My dad and his wife moved 3 hours away where it snows all the time. She suggested I use her house for the venue, and even sending me dresses she thinks I should wear. She has told me this isn't about you, it's about being considerate of others. Me in all my stubborn glory said, you know what, you're right, it's not about me. It's about Dad, so I'll just do something more private and intimate with 2 close friends instead. Now, the idea of going somewhere random into the woods with 2 to 3 friends, getting all dressed up and doing a small ceremony sounds amazing and less drama. Comment 1. There's the option of also growing a spine and telling her to keep her opinions to herself and taking back the planning and doing what you want, and if she doesn't want to attend, so be it. Same for your dad. But going to the woods sounds lovely too. NTA. Comment 2. NTA, but really think about what you want for your event. It can be something tiny and private, or you can have an intimate gathering with close family and friends. Your celebration is about you, and should not be planned for anyone else. If you want your original plan, I would suggest letting your sister know that you and your husband have some ideas on what you want to do, and while you have appreciated her help with planning, you would really like to take the wheel on this one. Have your Halloween renewal. It'll be something fun to remember. Story 3, telling my spouse that mother-in-law needs to find other living arrangements. My mother-in-law is mentally ill, lives alone in another state, and relies on my spouse financially since she's too paranoid to work. She's my spouse's only family. She's been struggling, not taking her medication, and unhappy with where she lives. My mother-in-law wanted psychiatric hospitalization, so my spouse flew out to help admit her. But when they got there, she changed her mind and asked to stay with us instead. She used to visit for weeks or months before I was in the picture. Here's the complication: she doesn't know my spouse and I are married. She thinks we're just roommates, so she believes she'd be staying with my spouse and a roommate, me. We agreed to let her stay temporarily to make sure she takes her medication. It's been a week, and while her mental health is improving, I'm struggling. We live in a one-bedroom apartment, so she's sleeping on our couch. She cleans to stay busy, which I appreciate, but I feel mentally exhausted accommodating another person. I don't feel comfortable in my own home anymore. We have no privacy as a couple except in our bedroom since she doesn't know we're together. We're also fostering street kittens and work from home, so it's already crowded. She reorganizes our things and uses items incorrectly, requiring constant gentle correction. I find myself hiding in the bedroom or bathroom just to decompress. I've hinted to my spouse that I don't want this long term, but I feel guilty asking her to leave since being here helps her mental health. She wants to live closer to us, but we can't afford to help her get her own place nearby. My spouse considered breaking our lease for a bigger apartment, but I don't want to live with my mother-in-law indefinitely. Neither my spouse nor I know how long this will last or what the solution is. Comment 1, NTA. She shouldn't have been invited to stay in the first place. Having her move out will be 10x more difficult. Sounds like she should be in some kind of assisted living. Lists can be years long. You need to stop hinting and have a serious conversation with your wife about how you're feeling and make a plan regarding the care of their mother. Comment 2. Now you and your spouse need to make a plan, because you're right, this isn't sustainable. Mill should have a case manager. The state hospital should be able to tell you what her last discharge plan was. Some day treatment programs provide meds management. I'm sorry, good options are so limited. We've never been willing to spend money on services for the disabled, and that goes double for psychiatric disabilities. Story 4, letting a guy sit next to me on the train to protect me from a crackhead, then refusing to give him my number or socials. I, 21F, was riding the train when this clearly unstable man started yelling in people's faces, walking up and down the aisle acting aggressive. I was sitting alone, and I got really anxious because I'm small and kind of look weak, so I was scared he might target me. A guy, mid-20s, sitting in front of me asked if he could sit next to me so the guy wouldn't come after me. I said yes because I was honestly frightened and didn't want to say no and risk drawing attention. After he sat down, though, he started asking personal questions: if I had a boyfriend, where I lived, and if I wanted to be his girlfriend. I told him I had a boyfriend, I don't, and lied about where I lived. He then asked for my socials, and I said I don't use social media. He didn't say anything after that but just sat next to me looking really pissed, like he was mad I'd used him and then gave him nothing in return. Now I feel kind of guilty. I let him sit with me for my safety, but then I completely shut him down afterward. Comment 1. NTA. I remember being young, slightly drunk, riding the subway late at night and some amped upper holes trying to hit on / scare me. Some nice guys stepped in and just stood near me and made sure those men didn't get off the subway with me. They never asked for anything or really said much. If you are a decent person, that's what you do. Comment 2. Exactly. Basic human decency doesn't come with strings attached. Helping someone feel safe shouldn't be treated as a transaction, and OP had every right to shut down any uncomfortable questions. A good person helps because it's the right thing to do, not because they expect something in return.